What's happening, hardscapers? This is episode 33 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk to you about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. And on today's episode, we're joined by Geoff Whitcher, once again, the president of Azpects USA, to talk about EASYClick Base and everything you need to know, from installation to how it's used and everything they did to test this product. Really excited about this one and implementing it into our business. So without further ado, here's our interview with Geoff Whitcher. EASYClick Base is something that I saw, and something that, I thought about as soon as I started thinking about these, and I'm sure lots of different contractors, as soon as they heard about this synthetic bases, the Gator base, and other people have these different bases coming to the market, thinking of something for vehicular applications, and this EASYClick Base seems to be that solution. Can you talk to us a little bit more about this? What is this EASYClick Base? I know with these other synthetic bases, they're made of, the polypropylene sort of material. But what is this EASYClick Base?
It's taken a couple of years for us to develop. I mean, we first started thinking about this a couple of years ago up in Canada at Congress, and we looked at the system that Gator has. And I've got a lot of good friends at Alliance, great company. The Gator board, it's a good product, I think, for backyard use. Obviously, they don't recommend driving on it. But they do have a system, especially for the porcelain installs. And that's really another reason that we started to look at a synthetic base that we could manufacture that we felt could be used in a number of different situations, including the ability to drive on it. And so EASYClick Base in its development has been an engineered product for specifically paving work. And without my friends jumping all over me at Brock or Alliance, the product initially, I think, was a shock absorber for sports turf, and turned into a paving material. And like I say, they've got millions of square feet out there, and it's working really well. But one of our biggest concerns, other than wanting something you can drive on, which you can with Click Base, was the installation of porcelain. There's a lot of discussion going on at this point in our industry on the best ways to lay porcelain. And it is a very thin product. Porcelain's only 20 millimeters, 3/4 of an inch thick. And we believe you need a stable base for that. A lot of people trying to lay 3/4 inch porcelain in sand with maybe polymeric in the joints. And we don't feel that that's a sound solution for a pavement that's not an interlocking pavement. It's just big slabs of stone. So the Click Base was developed so that we could have a stable platform for the guys that I would say don't have maybe the skill set for installation with modern mortar, and not so much the mortar beds part, but the joint part. Getting down on your knees and pointing and being able to clean up stone after you've done it with sand and cement mix. And that's a skill set that, let's face it, a lot of us guys in the hardscape industry just don't have. And so the answer is, okay, if they're going to go out and screed sand and just lay a very thin material on it, then I think they're going to have a lot of problems going forward. So we developed a Click Base so that guys can screed the material that the Click Base lays on top of, which will either be a number 8 or number 9 stone, or ASTM C33 sand, and they can screed that, put down the Click Base, and just lay their paving on the top of it. And they're pretty much doing exactly what they do when they lay pavers anyway. And so this is something that we felt like would help the porcelain install industry, as well as, of course, the other benefits of synthetic base, which are, we have a labor shortage in many parts of this country. Anything that can cut down the time and the effort and the number of people that you need to do a job is obviously good. Second thing that's driving it, I think, is that there is also a sand and gravel shortage, and getting materials for constructing bases is always difficult. environmentally, it's much better to have something that cuts down the amount of gravel that is dug out of the earth and put back in. And so these synthetic bases are essentially taking the place of deeper sections of base, and so that you don't have to take away as much dirt and you don't have to bring back as much aggregate into the mix.
And I see with all these synthetic bases coming to the market, so much value for us that are struggling to find the right employees to grow our business and wanting to be efficient and wanting to bring in more money. You know, this is the solution, and an excellent solution. Now, what is the process of installing a Click Base install? What are we factoring into our excavation? What are we laying down, and how does it work?
So I'll talk a little bit about how we tested the material, because it's a pretty remarkable material. Initially, we did a test section up in Pennsylvania, and we did 3 sections. One section was literally strip the topsoil off, lay soil fabric separator, then screed 1.5 inches or so of number 9 stone, and then lay the click base, which is 3/4 inch thick, and then lay the paving straight on top of that click base. So our full section there was about 4.5 inches. Then we did another section right alongside it that had a no click base, but had a 6-inch deep sub-base section. So there we dug down about 10 inches, put in 6 inches of stone, again 1.5 inches or so of number 9, and then put in the 6-centimeter pavers on top of that. And then we went a little bit further and we dug another 6 inches down. So we had 12 inches of number 57 stone. Then we put in the 1.5 inches of number 9, and then laid the pavers on that. So we had 3 sections, each of which was about 30 to 40 foot long. And then we brought in what's called a falling weight deflectometer. Now, this thing is one of the reasons that when you're driving down a concrete highway and you see a repair that's 10 foot long, and then there's a gap and there's no repair, and then there's another patch, and you wonder why they didn't do the whole street. Well, it's because they've used a machine like this falling weight deflectometer that will give you deflection and stiffness underneath a falling weight. And what that means is it will give you an idea of what the length of life is left in an old pavement. So that's why if they test it and the pavement's got 10 more years in it, then why repair it now, right? And then the next little piece may have a life of 2 years, so let's repair that bit. But it'll also give you data on how to build a new pavement. And so we tested all 3 sections. And interestingly enough, the deflection under the falling weight deflectometer in a 6-inch or 12-inch depth of number 57 were almost identical. We are going to do some more testing on dense graded aggregates. I think that may give us a little bit different answer. But the deflection under the click base section, which, again, bear in mind, is only a 4 to 5 inch depth deep section, was the same as the deflection under the 12-inch number 57. That's an incredible feat of spreading the load. Mm-hmm. And so that is how we tested it, and that's how we came up with what our equivalencies are between using the click base and using a regular depth. So on a driveway, if in most parts of the country, you're digging out 10 inches or so, putting in 6 inches of base and then putting in your sand and paver. In this case, you're only going to be digging out 4 or 5 inches and putting in a little bit of sand or number 9 and then the paver and you're done. And I think obviously from a labor saving point of view, that's good. From material savings, I think in very tight urban spaces, it has even more benefit because you just can't get trucks and you can't get diggers in. You're a lot of times hand carrying or wheelbarrowing things in. Whereas with this, you're taking in literally just the bedding sand and then carry in this very lightweight click base material. and then take in your pavers. So you're saving a lot in terms of the labor and the materials, as well as just being able to get in and out of the job a lot quicker, which makes the homeowner and the client happy.
Yeah, and we've talked about synthetic bases a few times on the show, and people may look at the price point of say a product like EASYClick Base and think, oh, that's way too expensive, but then they're not considering in the saved labor costs, the saved trips to the dump to dispose of the material that's excavated, and the saved gravel costs of bringing in that gravel and installing that gravel. I mean, there's just so much cost savings with this synthetic base.
Yeah, I think that, again, your audience is obviously comprise a lot of savvy contractors, and I think that the ones that get it are the same ones that know how to price a job in the first place. If you're of the mind that you're just going to throw a number at the paver and not mark it up, and you're going to throw a number at the sand, and I think I want to make about $1,000 on this job, maybe you're not the right guy to start thinking about what does it really mean? What does it really save me to do it this way? And then sticker shock is always there. We have the same with EasyJoint. Sticker shock up front. A lot of guys are going to look at it and say, no, I'm not going to buy that. I can buy polymeric sand for half the price. But there are a lot of other guys that they look at the real situation. They figure it out over a longer period of time that this is actually going to save me money. It's going to make my customers a lot happy. I'm going to get more referrals. So you have to look at the bigger picture. And it's the same with Click Base as EasyJoint. You look at the bigger picture. What does it really save you over the long haul? As well as all the other intangible benefits for the contractor in that, yes, it's better for the environment. The material, Click Base itself, is a recycled and a recyclable product. So, adding all the benefits together, it's a way forward for us to be able to construct pavement with using a lot less natural resources.
And now, getting into the installation process, I'm going to go off of a little bit of what I've seen about installing the Click Base, but maybe you can fill in some blanks here for us. The excavation, depending on the thickness of the paver, the depth of your screeding layer, but you're going to excavate, compact the subsoil, put fabric down, and use the number 8s or number 9s, what we prefer, but you can use the wash sand. An inch thick of that?
Yeah, inch is good. If you obviously get your base grade pretty accurate, then you can use a thinner layer. If you're just going to dig it out, and you may need an inch or two. You just need enough to be able to screed a good bedding layer, and much the same as you do when you're laying pavers generally. The difference is here you're going to lay the Click Base on there instead of laying the paver on there. Lay the Click Base on top of that sand layer. And I'll just fill in something here on the bedding, the layer of pavers themselves. In our test section, we laid the paver right on top of that Click Base. And because the tolerances on those particular pavers were very good, and I won't mention the name of the manufacturer, they were very good, and you could lay it on the Click Base and there'd be no lipping. Everything was fine. Obviously, ASTM manufacturing specifications allow for plus and minus on pavers, maybe an 1/8 up and down. That could potentially give you a 1/4 inch lip. So what we would recommend in those cases is that you would lay, again, screed maybe a 1/2 inch or so of sand or number 9s on top of the Click Base, so that then you can lay the pavers on that material, compact it, and take out any of those tolerance differences that you're going to get if you have pavers that do have that plus or minus in them. With porcelain, it's a very, very well tolerance product. I mean, it's 3/4 inch. That's it. You can literally, we have a glue, easy adhesive. You sort of get the message here. Everything's easy. But the easy adhesive, you can literally stick the porcelain down. It's a flexible adhesive, so it will allow a little movement. Stick it down to the Click Base and then joint it with EasyJoint or Pro or our Easy Grout. and you're done. So that's kind of how you do the job, the way that you've described it, and the different ways to lay the surfacing material on top of the click base.
And then when it comes to once that EASYClick Base is installed, it's got those gaps in it, and it's like a plastic grid almost. Do you sweep in, if you use sand as the bedding layer, do you sweep in that wash sand over top of that and then lay the pavers? Or if you use the number 8s or number 9s, do you sweep in that over top then lay the pavers?
Depends upon, we would recommend on a driveway, just to get a little bit of extra stiffness, it's worth sweeping in that material on the top. And going back again to if you are going to put sand or number 9s on top of the click base to take out, to be able to vibrate down, take out any of that surface tolerance, then you're going to fill those voids up in that process. If you're laying a thin stone material that you don't worry about, you're just going to lay it straight on the click base, you don't have to fill the voids. It's plenty strong enough for most situations. So we wouldn't necessarily, from a structural point of view, do it. Again, depends a little bit as well on what material you're going to be putting in the joints. Mm-hmm. If you're putting in a polymeric sand that's got a lot of flowability to it, and therefore you're going to lose a lot of that material maybe down into those voids, then it's probably worth filling the voids up first. That'll inhibit that flow down in there. Easy joint won't flow in quite as much. You know, if you're obviously a little careful about how much water you've got once you've got it in, then you don't have to fill the voids up. It's really contractor choice. But if it's on a driveway, then we'd recommend it. And again, if you are screeding on top of the click base, you're going to fill them up anyway.
And then when it comes to edge restraint, what would you recommend for edge restraint with a product like EASYClick Base? And also, is the EASYClick Base going to extend, say, 6 inches past the border?
Yeah, much like any base. You know, if you're putting down a base, an aggregate base for any kind of pavement, typically you're going to extend that base out 6 inches or so beyond the finished paving line to be able to get a good firm foundation for your edging, whatever that edging is, and for whatever the paving is. So with click base, we do the same thing. We would recommend that you leave it 6 inches outside. Click base can be easily cut with a handsaw or with a circular saw. And you can either trim it to the shape, or you can just leave it in an angular form so that you just have click base sitting outside the paving. A couple of ways to do the edging. I mean, one way is to use a plastic edging, and as we know, there are lots of those on the market, on with a self-tapping screw into the click base itself. That's one good way of doing it. There are other products out there that are flowable edges, where in days gone by, I think we all know about concrete toe, which sometimes is actually cement toe, which is usually a product that breaks up pretty quickly for edge restraint. There are some products out there now which have some fibers added to the mix that does give it a little more flexibility. And the one thing we like about some of these materials is they flow in and they actually flow down into the click base and grab that click base, and you get a very good bond between that click base, the edging material, and the paver. And that's proven to be, and we did this in one of our test sections, proven to be a very good edge. So that's another way to be able to do that edging.
Mm-hmm. And we've had the guys from PermaEdge on the show that do have those additive fibers in their formula to make it much more flexible. So obviously that seems to be a good product to use, say, on an open graded base system. And not saying that that's the brand that you guys are suggesting to use. That's just the product that has been on our show to talk further about that.
Yeah, I was trying not to drop any names there, but you're right. PermaEdge is right now anyway, certainly the leading guys out there with this. They brought this thing to market, and we've used it. We like it. It's a good product.
When it comes to the final installation of pavers, would you recommend then compacting the pavers before installing, say, an easy joint on top of that, or say doing the installation of polymeric sand and then the final compaction, or where does the compaction come into play with an EASYClick Base install?
Generally, if you're laying it on top of sand on top of the click base, then sure, you would compact it in the normal way, put polymeric sand in, or whatever other material you're putting in the joints. You do that in exactly the same way as any other installation. If you're just putting it down on top, there really isn't any need to compact. You've got a very thin section anyway, as well as just an inch or so of sand or number 9s, which are fairly self-compacting. So there really isn't any need to do any compaction unless you have that sand on top of the click base itself.
Geoff, I know it's up to the manufacturers set their own suggested retail pricing, but do you have an idea of what kind of price point we're going to be looking at with this EASYClick Base, and is it available right now in markets to purchase?
Yeah, it's available in the Northeast. We have products in the Pennsylvania area. We do have it up there. We've got other product. It's being manufactured as we speak. And we are launching it in as many markets as fast as we can. We've had a lot of interest in it. Like I said, I was in Montreal last week. A lot of people up in Canada are interested in this product, so it solves a lot of problems for them. And yes, it's available. I think we're looking at somewhere in the $3 range a square foot to the contractor. That's kind of what they're going to be looking at. Yeah, we've run some numbers. I mean, we believe that compared to other construction depths and methods, that's going to be a competitive number. And so that's kind of where I think it's going to be, in that $3.
Yeah, well, I'm sold, and looking forward to hopefully implementing that into my season this year. And Geoff, is there anything else, any other talking points or any other things that you want to cover when it comes to EASYClick Base as we round out this interview?
No, I think we've probably covered most of it. I think the way of the future. Yeah, there are other methods. There are grids. There are Tensar have had grids out for a long time. A lot of these grids that you need to fill up. This is just a product that we believe is engineered for the job, and we think it's going to be a winner as far as helping contractors go. And that's really what we're all about at Azpects. With that, Adam, thank you for having me on. It's been very nice chatting to you, and it's always good to be able to talk about what we do in this industry. So thank you.
Absolutely, Geoff. Thank you so much for your time and letting our audience know more about these two products that are really going to help out the industry. And looking forward to implementing it in my business and spreading the word about this on our podcast. Geoff, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Where can our audience go to learn more about yourself and Azpects and inform themselves more about these products?
You can go to our website, www.azpects.com. You can find it all there, and we'll try to help you guys out.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. Visit us at howtohardscape.com for more information on this subject, and let us know what you want to learn about in future episodes by reaching out to us on our social channels. We are at howtohardscape everywhere, and contact at howtohardscape.com if you want to send us an email. And thank you once again for listening to these past two episodes on EASYClick Base and EASYJoint. Great products that I'm looking forward to implement into our business and to give you more feedback on it. We would love it if you subscribe to our podcast, left us a rating and review. This really helps us get traction with this podcast and to get more guests onto the show to deliver you more value. We look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.